Every person carries untapped potential that can transform their life, but most let fear, doubt, and limits hold them back. This video breaks down powerful strategies to believe in yourself more than your obstacles, helping you take control, build confidence, and create unstoppable momentum. We'll explore 10 practical chapters, including challenging doubts with action, rewriting limiting beliefs, building confidence through small victories, strengthening daily discipline, and converting fear into courageous movement. Each chapter delivers actionable lessons you can apply immediately. Watch, learn, and implement these insights daily. Subscribe now to unlock your full potential and stay inspired. Number 1. Challenge your doubts with action. Doubt is a quiet, persistent shadow that follows everyone. It lurks in the corners of the mind, whispering questions and creating hesitation. Are you really capable of this? What if you fail? Maybe you're not ready. These doubts are not failures. They are natural signals that the mind is aware of risk, aware of challenge, aware of the unknown. The problem arises when doubt controls action. When hesitation becomes the default, progress stalls, and potential remains dormant. Challenging doubt with deliberate action is the key to breaking free, and it is the first step in believing in yourself more than your limits. Every action begins with a choice. The choice to confront fear, uncertainty, and hesitation directly. Action is not reckless. It is purposeful, intentional, and grounded in the belief that progress, not perfection, matters. Doubt thrives in the absence of action. The longer uncertainty lingers, the more power it gains. The mind fabricates worst-case scenarios, magnifies weaknesses, and exaggerates limitations. One day of indecision becomes a week, then a month, and eventually a lifetime. By choosing action, no matter how small, doubt begins to shrink. It loses the space to grow because the evidence of capability begins to accumulate. Start by recognizing doubt for what it truly is: a signal, not a verdict. It is a thought, not a reality. It is a warning, not a restriction. The first act of challenging doubt is naming it. Identify the exact fear behind hesitation. Is it the fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of rejection? Once the fear is identified, it can be confronted with evidence, strategy, and deliberate steps. Writing down doubts is often powerful because it separates thought from truth. Seeing a doubt in writing allows for rational evaluation. Often the mind's story is far more dramatic than reality, and putting it on paper exposes that exaggeration. Action does not have to be monumental. It can be small, strategic, and incremental. The critical factor is that action disproves the mind's narrative that says you cannot. For example, if self-doubt arises around public speaking, action might begin with practicing a single paragraph aloud. The first step might feel awkward, uncomfortable, or even intimidating. That discomfort is exactly the point. It is the space where transformation begins. Action reshapes belief by providing direct evidence. When you do something despite fear, your mind cannot deny your competence. Each small success compounds. Confidence builds, not in the absence of doubt, but in its presence. Consistency is a critical element. Doubt rarely disappears after one act of courage. It will return, sometimes stronger, challenging the mind's willingness to persist. The antidote is repeated, intentional action. A single victory can ignite courage, but a pattern of deliberate steps establishes resilience. Consider the practice of physical training. Muscles do not grow overnight. They respond to repeated stress, recovery, and gradual increase in intensity. Similarly, the mind strengthens through repeated confrontation with doubt. Each step forward, no matter how small, reinforces the belief that obstacles are not absolute barriers, they are challenges to be met. Preparation amplifies the power of action. Doubt often arises from perceived lack of readiness, gaps in knowledge, or fear of inadequacy. Preparation is a tangible way to bridge the gap between fear and action. Learning, practicing, and refining skills instill confidence that complements courage. However, preparation should never be a disguise for procrastination. Waiting for perfect conditions is a trap. Action with imperfect knowledge is still progress. The key is balance. Prepare enough to act intelligently, but act before hesitation becomes paralysis. Action also requires accountability. Sharing goals with someone trustworthy creates an external framework that supports movement. Doubt feeds on isolation. When progress is only internal, the mind is free to question, undermine, and derail. External accountability, whether through a mentor, friend, or community, adds structure and encouragement. It reminds the individual that action is not just a private battle, but a tangible, observable effort. This external reinforcement strengthens belief in oneself because success becomes verifiable, not just imagined. Embrace failure as part of the process. Action is inherently risky, and every attempt carries the possibility of setbacks. Fear of failure is one of the primary drivers of doubt. The key is not to eliminate failure, but to redefine it. Failure is feedback. It is data, not a verdict. Each failed attempt provides insight. What worked, what didn't, and what to adjust. The act of confronting doubt through action transforms failure into learning. The person who never acts is already failing silently. The person who acts, even imperfectly, moves toward mastery. Visualization supports action by creating a mental blueprint of success. Before stepping into a challenging situation, take time to imagine the process, including potential obstacles and the ways to overcome them. Visualization does not replace action. It primes the mind to recognize opportunity, maintain composure, and sustain effort under pressure. When doubt arises during execution, the mental rehearsal serves as a reminder that you have anticipated challenges and prepared responses. Action becomes a continuation of intention, not an impulsive leap. The pace of action matters less than the direction. Movement toward the goal, even if slow, consistently counters doubt. Many individuals overestimate what they can do in a single day and underestimate what they can achieve through consistent daily steps. Small, purposeful actions accumulate into momentum. Over time, momentum overwhelms hesitation, and what once seemed impossible becomes routine. Belief in oneself grows not from sudden miracles, but from persistent, steady movement that demonstrates competence and resilience. Doubt often disguises itself as rational caution. It whispers, "Wait, not now. Are you sure?" Courage is not the absence of caution. It is the ability to act despite it. Evaluate doubt critically. Separate rational assessment from fear-driven hesitation. Use reason to guide strategy, and courage to drive execution. Every time action is chosen over hesitation, the mind receives proof of capability. This reinforces self-belief and diminishes the sway of doubt. Immediate application is vital. Begin today with one action that challenges a personal doubt. Identify the smallest, most manageable step that requires courage. It might be reaching out to someone you admire, completing a project you have delayed, or speaking up in a situation that feels intimidating. Commit to this single act. Take it deliberately, with awareness of the fear you feel, and let the act itself become a signal to your mind. You are capable. Then repeat tomorrow. Then the next day. Momentum compounds. Action is transformative because it bypasses debate and internal argument. The mind may endlessly rationalize, hesitate, and invent obstacles. Physical movement, taking a step forward, speaking a word, completing a task, cannot be argued with. Action is proof. It bridges the gap between thought and reality. Doubt may linger, but it no longer commands the narrative. Each courageous act reinforces the belief that limits are not fixed. They are negotiable. Ultimately, challenging doubt with action is a practice of mastery. It is a daily choice to prioritize evidence of capability over imagined limitation. It is a commitment to engage life actively, to confront fear, and to build confidence through direct experience. The process is not painless or easy, but it is profoundly rewarding. Every time action is chosen over hesitation, self-belief strengthens, resilience deepens, and the mind gradually learns to trust itself more than it fears. The transformation begins the moment the first act is taken. Doubt may not vanish completely, but it loses its authority. The voice that once said, "You cannot," becomes background noise, replaced by the clarity of repeated success, reinforced effort, and unwavering commitment. By challenging doubts with action, the impossible slowly becomes possible. Hesitation becomes momentum, and limits are revealed to be only what the mind has temporarily accepted. Every day offers the opportunity to confront doubt through deliberate action. Begin where you are, with what you have, and take a step that proves your courage and capability. The simple truth is this: doubt is a shadow that flees in the presence of movement. By acting, even imperfectly, even hesitantly, you reclaim authority over your mind, your choices, and your potential. Each action, no matter how small, is a declaration. Your belief in yourself is stronger than the limits you once accepted. Challenging doubt with action is not a one-time effort. It is a lifelong practice. It requires awareness, courage, and commitment. It is the foundation of all growth, the spark of confidence, and the engine that transforms dreams into tangible reality. By consistently choosing action, you build a life where fear does not dictate outcomes, where hesitation does not stall progress, and where belief in yourself naturally surpasses every limitation. The journey begins with a single step. Take it deliberately, take it courageously, and let that step be the first of countless actions that prove to the world, and to yourself, that your potential is far greater than the doubts you have ever entertained. Every act of courage chips away at limitation, builds momentum, and shapes a life defined by belief, resilience, and unstoppable progress. Number 2. Rewrite limiting beliefs through practice. Beliefs shape every choice we make, every action we take, and every boundary we perceive. They are the invisible architecture of our lives, often formed silently over years of experience, observation, and repetition. Some of these beliefs empower us, pushing us toward growth, achievement, and fulfillment. Others restrict us, keeping potential locked away, whispering that certain dreams are impossible or certain goals are unattainable. These limiting beliefs are subtle. They do not announce themselves loudly. Instead, they infiltrate thought patterns, decisions, and behaviors until they feel like unchangeable truths. The path to personal transformation begins with recognizing that beliefs are not immutable. They are learned habits of the mind, and like any habit, they can be rewritten through consistent, intentional practice. The first step in rewriting limiting beliefs is awareness. Most people carry mental scripts that guide their actions without realizing it. These scripts often originate in childhood experiences, societal messages, or repeated failures that were internalized as truths. Awareness is the ability to observe these thoughts without judgment, noticing when the mind says, "I can't," or "this is too hard." By labeling these thoughts as beliefs rather than facts, The first crack appears in their authority. Awareness is not passive observation. It is the beginning of deliberate intervention. Without it, beliefs continue to dictate behavior, unconsciously, quietly shaping a life below one's potential. Once awareness is established, the next step is examination. Every limiting belief deserves a thorough, honest evaluation. Ask, where did this belief originate? Does it reflect reality, or is it an assumption repeated enough to feel true? How has it influenced decisions and behaviors over time? This analysis is crucial because beliefs rooted in emotion, past trauma, or social conditioning often have no factual basis. They are convenient stories the mind tells to maintain a sense of safety or avoid discomfort. Understanding the origins and mechanisms of these beliefs allows them to be addressed logically rather than combated purely through willpower. Practice is the transformative element in rewriting beliefs. Thoughts alone are insufficient. Action must accompany reflection. The mind learns through repetition, reinforcement, and experience. When a limiting belief is challenged repeatedly through practical steps, it gradually loses its grip. For example, a person who believes, "I am not capable of leadership," can begin by taking small responsibilities in groups, volunteering for tasks, or practicing decision-making in safe environments. Each successful step contradicts the old narrative, providing direct evidence that the belief is inaccurate. Over time, the mind begins to internalize a new story, one supported by action rather than assumption. Consistency is the engine of change. Rewriting beliefs is not a single event. It is a continuous process, requiring daily engagement. The human mind resists sudden transformation. Old patterns are comfortable, familiar, and deceptively persuasive. By intentionally practicing new behaviors, thinking differently, and testing assumptions, the mind slowly reconfigures itself. This is similar to training a muscle. Strength is built through repeated effort, not a single exercise. The mental habits that once limited potential are replaced with empowering scripts that guide action toward growth, achievement, and resilience. Language plays a critical role in shaping belief. Words are not mere descriptors, they frame perception. Phrases like, "I can't" or "I'm not good enough" reinforce limitations, while statements such as "I am learning," "I can improve," and "I am capable of growth" strengthen adaptive beliefs. Daily verbal affirmations, reflective journaling, or even mental self-talk can rewire perception. The key is repetition coupled with meaning. Empty repetition does little, but statements tied to deliberate practice, conscious effort, and small achievements gradually reshape the subconscious mind. Behavioral experiments are one of the most effective methods for rewriting limiting beliefs. Treat beliefs as hypotheses and test them through action. For instance, someone who believes, "I always fail when I try something new," can select a manageable new challenge and observe the outcome. Document what happens, analyze the process, and evaluate whether the belief holds true. Often, evidence shows that the old belief is inaccurate, exaggerated, or context-dependent. These experiments create undeniable proof that the mind can handle challenges, adapt, and succeed, undermining the power of self-imposed limitations. Mindset is both the soil and the seed of belief. Approaching life with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to learn creates an environment where old beliefs are more easily dismantled. Instead of viewing mistakes as confirmation of inadequacy, they are reframed as information to guide growth. Each attempt, regardless of outcome, becomes an opportunity to strengthen new beliefs. This approach does not eliminate difficulty or eliminate fear, but transforms them into tools for development. A belief in personal adaptability replaces the narrative of incapacity, enabling consistent progression toward goals. Visualization is another practical tool in the practice of belief change. Seeing oneself succeed mentally before taking action primes the mind for possibility. The brain does not fully differentiate between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. Regularly visualizing overcoming challenges, succeeding in tasks, and acting with competence gradually rewires expectations. When the time comes to act, the mind draws from this mental rehearsal, reducing hesitation and reinforcing the new belief that success is attainable. Combined with actual practice, visualization strengthens confidence and embeds new mental scripts. Accountability accelerates transformation. Sharing intentions with a mentor, friend, or community provides external reinforcement that complements internal practice. Limiting beliefs often thrive in isolation, quietly reinforcing themselves through internal echo chambers. External accountability introduces reality checks, encouragement, and structured feedback. It increases commitment to action, ensures follow-through, and validates new experiences that contradict old beliefs. Over time, external support and internal practice converge, solidifying the new belief system. Rewriting limiting beliefs is not solely about overcoming obstacles, it is about reshaping identity. Beliefs define how the mind interprets potential and shapes behavior accordingly. When new beliefs replace limiting ones, the individual begins to act in alignment with higher capability. Confidence grows naturally, decisions become bolder, and challenges are approached with curiosity rather than fear. Identity itself expands, no longer constrained by past experiences, societal expectations, or internalized doubts. The person who rewrites beliefs experiences a shift in perception, seeing opportunity where limitation once dominated. Emotional engagement is essential. The mind does not respond purely to logic. Emotion cements learning. Feel the excitement of small victories, the relief of overcoming challenges, and the satisfaction of progress. Celebrate incremental achievements. By pairing new beliefs with positive emotional experiences, the brain reinforces the new mental patterns. Over time, these emotional associations make the beliefs resilient, resistant to old doubts or external discouragement. Reflection consolidates progress. Regularly reviewing experiences, noting evidence of growth, and documenting changes in perceptions strengthens the rewiring process. Reflection is not self-criticism, it is structured evaluation. By analyzing successes and setbacks with honesty, the mind develops nuanced understanding, increasing self-efficacy. Each reflection session reinforces the lesson that limitation is not permanent and personal growth is achievable through practice. Ultimately, rewriting limiting beliefs through practice is a journey of disciplined, intentional living. It is an active, ongoing process that requires courage, consistency, and self-compassion. Each act of practice, whether a small challenge, a thoughtful experiment, or a deliberate reframing, chips away at the walls of limitation. Beliefs evolve from restrictive stories into empowering narratives. Fear diminishes, resilience strengthens, and the mind gradually trusts in its own capacity to grow, adapt, and succeed. The results are profound. As limiting beliefs fade, action becomes more fluid, ambition becomes clearer, and potential expands. Life becomes a field of possibilities rather than a series of constraints. Each day offers an opportunity to practice differently, act intentionally, and reinforce new beliefs. Over time, these daily practices transform identity, character, and destiny. The person who rewrites their beliefs not only achieves goals, but cultivates a life defined by mastery over thought, deliberate action, and unwavering confidence. The journey begins with one intentional step. Identify a belief that restricts progress, evaluate its foundation, and commit to practicing behaviors that challenge it. Act, observe, reflect, adjust, and repeat. Each repetition strengthens the new belief system, slowly replacing limitation with empowerment. This is the path to genuine transformation, an enduring change that allows potential to flourish far beyond previous boundaries. Beliefs are not destiny. They are tools. When consciously rewired through persistent, purposeful practice, they become the foundation of achievement, resilience, and self-belief. Rewriting limiting beliefs is not a single act. It is a lifelong discipline. It is a daily commitment to observe, challenge, and refine mental patterns. The individual who embraces this practice discovers that constraints are often illusions, fear is temporary, and capability is far greater than previously imagined. Through conscious practice, deliberate action, and reflective engagement, the mind becomes a vessel of possibility, and the life that emerges is defined not by what was once feared, but by what is consciously chosen, believed, and achieved. Number 3. Build confidence from small victories. Confidence is often misunderstood as a sudden, overwhelming surge of courage, a dramatic shift that changes life overnight. The truth is far simpler and far more reliable. Confidence is built incrementally, layer by layer, through repeated experiences of achievement, no matter how small. Each small victory is a seed, and when cultivated consistently, it grows into an unshakable sense of competence and self-trust. These victories are not merely about success, they are about evidence, proof to the mind that effort produces results, that ability exists, and that progress is possible. The process is deliberate, methodical, and rooted in action, not wishful thinking. The journey begins with recognition. Many people overlook the power of small wins because they appear insignificant against larger goals. Yet the aggregation of these small steps often determines ultimate success more than a single monumental achievement. Confidence grows not from sporadic, extraordinary acts, but from repeated affirmation that one can meet challenges and accomplish objectives. The first practice is to notice what is accomplished each day, however minor it may seem. Completing a task that was procrastinated, solving a problem effectively, or even making a deliberate choice to act despite hesitation counts. Each instance adds to a cumulative foundation of self-trust. Intentionality is critical. Small victories do not emerge by chance. They are the product of conscious effort. Planning and structuring tasks to include achievable milestones creates frequent opportunities for success. Instead of measuring progress solely by the final destination, break it into manageable steps that can be completed daily or weekly. Each milestone, when achieved, provides immediate feedback and reinforcement. This structure ensures that confidence is nourished steadily, rather than waiting for rare moments of triumph that may be far in the future. Action is the bridge between intention and confidence. Confidence is not a static quality. It is forged in the act of doing. Taking steps forward, no matter how incremental, provides tangible proof of capability. The act of completing a task reinforces competence and diminishes the influence of self-doubt. It is the accumulation of these repeated actions that trains the mind to trust itself. Over time, hesitation is replaced by decisiveness, uncertainty by assurance, and fear of inadequacy by recognition of capability. Small victories create momentum, and momentum is a powerful catalyst for lasting confidence. Reflection amplifies the impact of achievements. After each small victory, pause to observe and internalize what was accomplished. This is not a superficial acknowledgement, but a conscious processing of effort, strategy, and outcome. Reflecting on progress reinforces the belief that success is repeatable, not random. It allows lessons to be drawn from each experience, deepening understanding of personal strengths and identifying areas for refinement. By linking effort with results through reflection, the mind internalizes a narrative of capability that becomes self-reinforcing. Consistency matters more than intensity. One significant accomplishment may inspire momentary confidence, but lasting self-assurance develops from repeated, reliable reinforcement. Small victories create a pattern of success that gradually redefines self-perception. Daily habits, incremental goals, and regular reinforcement accumulate, reshaping belief systems from within. The mind begins to anticipate capability rather than fear limitation, establishing a new baseline for action, risk-taking, and resilience. Confidence, when nurtured gradually, becomes stable and resilient rather than volatile and fragile. Celebration strengthens the connection between action and self-belief. Recognizing achievements, even minor ones, creates positive emotional associations with effort and accomplishment. This reinforcement signals to the brain that effort is valuable and capable of producing results. Emotional engagement solidifies learning and supports the transition of small actions into long-term habits. Celebrating victories does not require extravagance. A moment of acknowledgement, a note of success, or even internal recognition is sufficient to reinforce the mind's confidence in its ability to act effectively. Strategic challenge fuels growth alongside victories. Achievements should be progressive, designed to stretch capability without overwhelming it. Confidence grows when challenges are met incrementally, allowing success to accumulate naturally. If tasks are too easy, they produce little evidence of competence. If too difficult, they risk reinforcing doubt. The optimal approach involves a steady increase in difficulty, where each small victory pushes the boundaries of skill and comfort slightly further. Over time, this structured progression transforms perceived limitations into manageable opportunities, strengthening self-trust and resilience. The mind responds to tangible evidence more than abstract encouragement. Belief in capability is reinforced when success is visible, measurable, and directly attributable to effort. Maintaining records, journals, or trackers of progress helps concretize achievements. Seeing the accumulation of completed tasks, mastered skills, or conquered challenges provides undeniable proof that competence exists and is growing. This visible evidence is critical, especially when self-doubt or fear attempts to undermine confidence. Each documented victory acts as a counterweight to negative self-assessment, steadily fortifying the belief in personal efficacy. Incremental success also reshapes identity. Confidence is not merely a temporary feeling, it is a self-perception built on consistent evidence of ability. Each small victory signals to the mind, I am capable, I can produce results. I can overcome challenges. Over time, these signals coalesce into a new identity, one defined by competence rather than limitation. The individual begins to approach tasks with a proactive mindset, recognizing obstacles as manageable and challenges as opportunities. The internal narrative shifts from hesitation and fear to action and assurance, reinforcing further victories. Failure is an essential complement to success in building confidence. Small victories do not eliminate the risk of setbacks. Rather, they create a foundation of resilience to respond constructively when difficulties arise. Each minor achievement reinforces the ability to recover, adapt, and persist. When setbacks occur, the mind draws on accumulated evidence of past victories to navigate challenges without succumbing to doubt. Resilience, nurtured through repeated success, allows confidence to withstand temporary failure, ensuring that self-belief remains robust and grounded in reality rather than fragile optimism. Integration into daily life ensures that confidence is sustained. Small victories must be embedded in routine behavior to create enduring impact. By establishing consistent practices, whether completing tasks on time, maintaining discipline in personal habits, or taking deliberate steps toward goals, the individual generates frequent opportunities for accomplishment. Over time, The mind becomes accustomed to action and reinforcement, reducing reliance on external validation and fostering intrinsic belief in one's ability to perform effectively under a variety of circumstances. Mentorship and observation enhance the process. Witnessing the success of others, particularly those who have overcome similar challenges, provides additional evidence that goals are achievable. Guidance from experienced individuals offers strategies, insights, and encouragement, helping to accelerate the accumulation of small victories. This external support complements personal practice, reinforcing confidence, while providing a framework for replicable success. The combination of personal achievement and observed possibility strengthens the mind's capacity to trust its own abilities consistently. Self-compassion plays a critical role in sustaining momentum. Confidence built from small victories requires acknowledgement that progress is not linear and that missteps do not negate prior achievements. Treating oneself with kindness while maintaining accountability preserves motivation, encourages experimentation, and supports continued growth. This balance of discipline and compassion ensures that the process of accumulating victories remains productive and psychologically sustainable, rather than a source of pressure or discouragement. Over time, the aggregation of small victories produces profound transformation. Tasks that once seemed daunting become manageable. Decisions are approached with clarity, and hesitation diminishes. Confidence becomes embedded in action and thought, providing a foundation for tackling increasingly complex challenges. The accumulation of evidence creates a feedback loop. Action leads to success. Success strengthens self-belief, and reinforced self-belief promotes further action. This continuous cycle establishes a durable, resilient, and self-sustaining form of confidence. The practice of building confidence from small victories is not a technique. It is a lifestyle. It requires deliberate attention, structured action, reflective processing, and emotional engagement. By consistently seeking opportunities for achievement, recording progress, analyzing outcomes, and celebrating successes, the mind is gradually retrained to perceive capability rather than limitation. The effect is not superficial self-assurance, but a deep, enduring trust in one's ability to act, adapt, and succeed across circumstances. Every step matters. Each small action, consciously completed and internally recognized, reinforces the principle that progress is attainable and capability is real. Confidence grows cumulatively, quietly yet powerfully, until it becomes the natural state of being. The person who practices this methodical accumulation of small victories is not dependent on luck, external validation, or sudden breakthroughs. Their confidence is built on evidence, sustained by habit, and continuously reinforced through deliberate, incremental achievement. This method transforms potential into tangible reality. The accumulation of small victories creates a life defined by competence, resilience, and trust in one's own abilities. Challenges are no longer paralyzing, fear no longer dictates behavior, and the mind naturally seeks action, experimentation, and growth. The quiet power of small victories reveals itself over time, producing profound self-belief, a robust sense of mastery, and an unstoppable momentum that propels the individual toward increasingly significant achievements and enduring personal fulfillment. Number 4. Strengthen mindset with daily discipline. Discipline is the silent engine behind every great achievement. It is the invisible force that bridges intention and reality, turning desire into action and dreams into tangible results. A strong mindset is not a matter of luck, talent, or fleeting motivation. It is forged deliberately through consistent, purposeful daily discipline. Discipline is not punishment or rigidity. It is the practice of mastery over self, the ability to align thoughts, emotions, and actions with long-term goals, even when the immediate impulse is to procrastinate or retreat. By cultivating discipline daily, the mind becomes resilient, focused, and capable of navigating challenges without surrendering to fear or doubt. Daily discipline begins with structure. The human mind thrives on predictable patterns that reduce mental friction. When routines are established and adhered to consistently, they create a framework in which deliberate action becomes automatic rather than burdensome. Discipline is not about perfection, it is about showing up, maintaining consistency, and executing tasks reliably. Small intentional acts repeated over time compound, forming the bedrock of mental strength. Even seemingly minor habits, waking early, prioritizing tasks, maintaining personal order, contribute to a cumulative sense of control, reinforcing the belief that action is possible and setbacks are temporary. Focus is inseparable from discipline. The modern world is filled with distractions, each vying for attention and energy. A disciplined mindset prioritizes what matters most, filtering out the noise that diverts effort and dilutes energy. This requires conscious decision-making, clarity of purpose, and an understanding of long-term objectives. Discipline is the ability to commit fully to the task at hand, even when desire to divert attention arises. By training the mind to concentrate, persistence becomes easier, and challenges are met with strategic engagement rather than impulsive reaction. Focus transforms action from scattered effort into impactful progress. Accountability strengthens discipline. When commitments are made and tracked, either publicly or privately, the mind recognizes responsibility not only to self, but to measurable outcomes. Accountability provides structure and reinforces the habit of follow-through. Setting clear intentions, tracking progress, and evaluating performance create feedback loops that enhance self-mastery. Accountability is not a threat, it is a tool that solidifies habits, ensuring that discipline is consistently applied rather than fleeting. Over time, repeated adherence to commitments builds mental resilience and reinforces confidence in personal capability. Resisting instant gratification is central to strengthening mindset through daily discipline. The mind naturally seeks comfort and ease, favoring short-term pleasure over long-term gain. Discipline is the conscious choice to delay immediate reward in favor of sustained benefit. Skipping distractions, completing difficult tasks first, and prioritizing meaningful action over temporary comfort trains the mind to tolerate discomfort, make strategic choices, and remain steadfast in pursuit of significant outcomes. This resistance builds internal fortitude and deepens the capacity to act decisively under pressure. Consistency is a cornerstone of mental strength. Discipline is not a single heroic effort, it is the repeated commitment to action, even when motivation wanes. Daily engagement with meaningful tasks, incremental improvement, and adherence to intentional routines embeds resilience in the psyche. Each day of consistent effort reinforces the principle that success is earned, not granted, and that capability grows through persistent application. The mind gradually internalizes discipline as a defining trait, producing confidence that extends beyond isolated tasks into every aspect of life. Reflection magnifies the impact of disciplined action. Taking time each day to evaluate decisions, observe patterns, and analyze outcomes creates a loop of continuous learning. Reflection identifies strengths to reinforce and weaknesses to address, allowing discipline to evolve intelligently. Without reflection, routines risk becoming mechanical or stagnant. Through conscious evaluation, the mind recognizes the value of disciplined effort and adjusts strategy to maximize effectiveness. This ongoing process ensures that discipline is not merely repetition, but purposeful refinement toward mastery. Visualization complements daily practice, enhancing mental strength by creating internal rehearsal for challenges. Imagining successfully navigating difficult situations, maintaining composure under pressure, and executing tasks efficiently strengthens neural pathways, preparing the mind to act effectively when real circumstances arise. Discipline is reinforced when visualized success is paired with deliberate action, creating alignment between intention and execution. Mental rehearsal reduces hesitation, clarifies strategy, and conditions the mind to respond with focus rather than fear when confronted with obstacles. Flexibility within discipline is critical. A strong mindset does not demand rigidity. It allows adaptation while maintaining core principles. Life is unpredictable, and unforeseen circumstances will challenge routines. Discipline does not collapse under variation. It adjusts intelligently. The mind that is disciplined daily becomes adept at maintaining focus, navigating interruptions, and returning to prioritized action without losing momentum. This adaptability strengthens resilience, ensuring that discipline remains a tool for growth rather than a source of frustration. Prioritization amplifies the power of daily discipline. Every day presents countless potential actions. Not all hold equal value. Mental strength is reinforced by consistently choosing the most impactful activities, directing energy where it produces the greatest benefit. Decisions about how to spend time, focus attention, and allocate effort become exercises in strategic self-control. Discipline is the mechanism by which these choices are implemented consistently, turning intention into reality and creating a life shaped by purpose rather than distraction. Mindful attention enhances the effectiveness of practice. Discipline is more than performing tasks. It is performing them fully with awareness and intention. Engaging with tasks consciously reinforces skill, deepens understanding, and embeds a sense of capability in the mind. Multitasking, passive effort, or rushed execution dilutes the benefits of discipline. The mind learns through attentive repetition, recognizing the connection between effort and outcome, and gradually internalizing the principles of self-mastery. Physical habits contribute to mental strength. The body and mind are intimately connected. Daily routines that maintain physical well-being, sleep, nutrition, exercise, directly enhance the capacity for focused, disciplined thought. Discipline in one domain reinforces discipline in others. Regular physical practice, when coupled with intentional mental effort, creates a feedback loop of energy, focus, and resilience. The mind perceives competence in action, which bolsters confidence and sustains effort across diverse challenges. Deliberate exposure to difficulty strengthens the psyche. Discipline is not about avoiding discomfort, but facing it intentionally. Small daily challenges that require perseverance, patience, or delayed gratification train the mind to withstand pressure. Each encounter with controlled difficulty reinforces the belief that obstacles are manageable and that personal capability is reliable. This repeated engagement with challenges develops endurance, patience, and confidence, forming a mindset that is resilient in the face of adversity. Self-compassion preserves motivation during disciplined practice. Discipline is often misinterpreted as harsh self-regulation, but sustainable mental strength requires kindness and understanding. Recognizing effort, progress, and commitment, even when outcomes are imperfect, maintains engagement and prevents discouragement. Self-compassion allows for adaptation without abandoning the principles of discipline, ensuring that setbacks are temporary adjustments rather than triggers for abandonment. This balance nurtures a resilient, confident mindset capable of continuous growth. Long-term vision reinforces daily practice. Discipline gains meaning when connected to a broader purpose. Understanding why actions matter, how they contribute to overarching goals, and the cumulative effect of small, consistent effort provides context and motivation. Daily discipline becomes a bridge between present action and future achievement. Each completed task is no longer isolated, but a step toward meaningful growth, reinforcing self-belief and commitment to sustained effort. Over time, the accumulation of disciplined action transforms mental patterns. Thoughts of hesitation give way to decisiveness. Challenges are approached with strategic engagement rather than avoidance. Fear is mitigated by confidence in repeated practice, and resilience becomes ingrained. A disciplined mind does not require constant external validation. It trusts in its own capacity to act, adapt, and progress. Strengthened through daily practice, this mindset becomes a foundation for achievement in every domain of life. Discipline also cultivates autonomy. By consistently directing actions through intentional practice, reliance on motivation, luck, or external circumstances diminishes. The mind recognizes its ability to choose, act, and influence outcomes, producing a sense of control that reinforces confidence and self-trust. Each day of deliberate practice affirms the capacity to navigate complexity, meet challenges, and sustain progress without succumbing to doubt or external pressure. Ultimately, daily discipline is both the path and the outcome of a strong mindset. It is the practice of aligning action with purpose, exercising control over impulse, and committing to incremental, consistent effort. By cultivating routines, reflecting on progress, challenging comfort zones, and maintaining focus on meaningful goals, the mind develops resilience, adaptability, and unwavering self-trust. Discipline is the engine, and mindset is the vehicle. Together, they propel action, achievement, and personal growth to levels unattainable through fleeting motivation alone. Every day presents an opportunity to strengthen mental fortitude. By committing to disciplined action, the individual demonstrates to the mind that capability is consistent, challenges are manageable, and growth is inevitable. Each deliberate effort, no matter how small, compounds into a resilient, confident, and purpose-driven mindset. Through sustained practice, the mind becomes unwavering in focus, steadfast in effort, and unshakable in belief that success is the natural result of consistent, intentional action. Number 5. Detach identity from past failures. Past failures have a way of lingering in the mind, often masquerading as permanent labels rather than temporary experiences. They can feel like chains, holding the present hostage to mistakes, missed opportunities, or moments of disappointment. Yet failure itself is not identity. It is an event, a learning experience, a marker of effort. Confusing failure with self-worth is one of the most limiting mental habits a person can carry. True growth begins when these events are observed objectively, separated from the story we tell ourselves about who we are. Detaching identity from past failures is the conscious act of reclaiming control over perception, refusing to let prior setbacks define potential, and choosing to move forward with clarity and strength. The first step in detachment is recognition. Notice when thoughts about the past arise and label them as reflections, not definitions. The mind has a natural tendency to conflate past actions with character, equating mistakes with inadequacy. Observing these thoughts without judgment creates a mental gap, a space where perspective can be applied. By acknowledging that failure is an experience rather than an essence, the mind begins to loosen its grip on limiting narratives. This recognition is not passive. It is an active reframing of experience, a choice to interpret past events differently. Understanding context is essential. Failures do not occur in isolation. They happen within complex circumstances, influenced by knowledge, timing, effort, and external conditions. Analyzing the factors that led to an outcome provides clarity, revealing elements that were within control and those that were not. This perspective diminishes the sense of personal blame and highlights actionable insights. When failures are dissected objectively, they become data points rather than verdicts on character, empowering the individual to make informed adjustments rather than dwell on regret. Reflection transforms failure into a tool for growth. Detachment does not mean ignoring the past. It means examining it constructively. Identify what worked, what did not, and what can be learned. This process transforms mistakes into stepping stones rather than obstacles. Each reflection session reinforces the separation of action from identity, demonstrating that missteps do not define the self, and highlighting patterns that can be corrected. Reflection creates clarity, turning experience into strategy and freeing the mind from the paralyzing grip of self-criticism. Forgiveness toward oneself is critical. Many individuals cling to guilt or shame as evidence of personal inadequacy, perpetuating cycles of self-doubt. Self-forgiveness is the acknowledgement that errors are part of being human and that learning from them is a far more productive approach than self-condemnation. By releasing judgment, the mind can focus on improvement rather than punishment. This process is not indulgent, it is strategic. Forgiveness frees energy previously consumed by regret, allowing attention and effort to be directed toward meaningful action in the present. Reframing language reinforces detachment. The words used to describe past experiences shape perception. Instead of thinking, "I am a failure," reframe as, "I faced a challenge that did not succeed as I intended." Subtle shifts in language create profound changes in identity perception. The mind begins to distinguish between actions and self, reducing the emotional weight of mistakes and increasing the ability to engage with future opportunities confidently. Language becomes a tool to dismantle limiting beliefs and reclaim agency over self-concept. Action bridges detachment from empowerment. Reflecting and reframing are necessary, but progress occurs when new behaviors are implemented. Small, deliberate steps toward goals demonstrate that past outcomes do not dictate future results. Successes, even minor, accumulate evidence that ability and growth exist independently of previous setbacks. Each purposeful action reinforces the understanding that identity is flexible and defined by current choices rather than historical mistakes. Momentum grows when the mind is actively proving capability, not merely theorizing about it. Mindfulness strengthens this process by anchoring awareness in the present. When attention is focused on current tasks, goals, and experiences, the mind is less susceptible to ruminating on past disappointments. Mindfulness techniques, such as conscious breathing, observation of thought patterns, and engagement with the senses, create stability and reduce the emotional intensity of memories. This present-centered approach allows detachment to occur naturally, enabling decisions and actions to be guided by clarity rather than residual fear or regret. Gradual exposure to risk enhances detachment from past failure. Individuals often avoid challenges due to the memory of previous mistakes. Deliberately engaging with small, manageable risks allows the mind to gather evidence that mistakes are not fatal and that learning occurs regardless of outcome. Each successful navigation of risk weakens the psychological grip of prior setbacks, reinforcing the distinction between action and identity. Courage is built through repetition, creating a resilient mindset that views failure as temporary and solvable rather than definitive. Support networks accelerate recovery from past setbacks. Sharing experiences with trusted individuals provides perspective, reduces isolation, and normalizes failure as part of growth. Mentors, peers, or communities can offer insights, encouragement, and examples of overcoming challenges. External validation is not the foundation of confidence, but it reinforces detachment by illustrating that failure is a universal experience and does not carry the moral weight often imposed internally. Support strengthens both resilience and the ability to separate past actions from self-definition. Visualization aids in detaching identity from past failures by creating alternative narratives, mentally rehearsing successful engagement with tasks, imagining effective decision-making, and picturing challenges handled competently reconditions the mind to perceive ability rather than limitation. Repeated visualization builds neural pathways that align expectation with action, reducing fear of repetition and increasing confidence. This process enables the mind to anticipate success, reinforcing the understanding that past failure does not predict future outcomes. Gratitude for lessons learned reinforces detachment. Every failure carries insight, whether about strategy, effort, timing, or character. By consciously appreciating the knowledge gained, the mind shifts focus from self-condemnation to empowerment. Gratitude transforms emotional response, replacing shame or regret with curiosity and growth-oriented reflection. Recognizing the utility of failure as a teacher fosters detachment by reframing past events as necessary components of progress rather than evidence of inadequacy. Time also facilitates detachment. Immediate reactions to failure are often colored by heightened emotion, magnifying perceived personal shortcomings. With temporal distance, perspective improves, and events can be evaluated more rationally. Revisiting past mistakes after time allows the mind to distinguish between transient outcomes and enduring self-identity. Patience in this process ensures that emotional intensity does not distort self-perception, supporting a stable and realistic understanding of capability. Integration into ongoing goals ensures detachment translates into actionable change. Past failures are not erased, but they are contextualized as experiences that inform present and future choices. Applying lessons learned to current tasks, decision-making and strategy strengthens competence and reinforces autonomy. The mind becomes oriented toward opportunity and improvement, with past setbacks serving as reference points rather than anchors. Continuous engagement with growth-oriented behavior consolidates detachment and strengthens the sense of self as capable and adaptable. Self-compassion maintains momentum during this process. Mistakes are inevitable in any endeavor, and the capacity to treat oneself with understanding and patience ensures that detachment is sustained. Compassion does not excuse negligence, but preserves motivation, reduces fear of new challenges, and reinforces the belief that identity is not contingent on perfection. A balanced approach encourages persistence while protecting mental and emotional well-being. Ultimately, detaching identity from past failures is a deliberate, ongoing practice that rewires perception. It transforms the mind from a reactive state dominated by regret into a proactive state capable of strategic, confident action. Failures are reframed as experiences, lessons, and data points rather than definitions of character. The mind learns to distinguish between past outcomes and current potential, reinforcing autonomy, resilience, and self-trust. Each step of reflection, action, reframing, and mindfulness builds a mindset that perceives mistakes as temporary, manageable, and ultimately valuable. The liberation that comes from detachment is profound. Freed from the constraints of past missteps, the individual can pursue goals with clarity, courage, and confidence. Energy previously consumed by rumination is redirected toward deliberate effort, growth, and mastery. Challenges are approached as opportunities to apply wisdom, test capability, and reinforce identity as competent and resilient. Detachment transforms failure from a limiting force into a springboard for achievement. Every day presents opportunities to practice detachment. By observing thoughts, analyzing experiences, taking informed action, and cultivating perspective, the mind gradually internalizes the principle that identity is independent of past outcomes. With consistent effort, this perspective solidifies into a resilient self-concept capable of embracing challenges, recovering from setbacks, and sustaining progress. The person who masters detachment from past failures does not deny mistakes. Instead, they transform them into tools for learning, empowerment, and enduring personal growth. Through deliberate practice, reflection, mindfulness, and consistent action, the mind learns that past failures are temporary events, not fixed characteristics. Identity becomes fluid, defined by current effort, intention, and growth, rather than by historical errors. This liberation fuels courage, nurtures self-belief, and empowers sustained action toward meaningful goals. Detachment is not a single achievement, but a continuous practice, one that transforms perception, strengthens resilience, and ensures that personal potential is not limited by history, but defined by conscious, intentional choice. Number 6. Visualize success before taking steps. Success begins first in the mind. Before any step is taken, before any plan is executed, the mind constructs a blueprint of possibility, shaping perception, expectation, and action. Visualization is the deliberate act of creating that blueprint, of mentally rehearsing outcomes, processes, and the path to achievement. It is not fantasy or idle daydreaming. It is a precise, intentional practice that aligns thought with action. By imagining success vividly and repeatedly, the mind becomes familiar with the experience of achievement, reducing uncertainty and hesitation when actual steps are required. Visualization serves as both preparation and motivation, conditioning the mind to respond with confidence and clarity. The brain responds to imagined experiences similarly to real ones. Neural pathways are activated when we mentally rehearse a sequence of actions, making the body and mind more adept when performing them in reality. This effect transforms visualization into a practical tool, enhancing performance, decision-making, and emotional resilience. Each imagined scenario builds familiarity and expectation, preparing the mind for the challenges ahead. By visualizing success before taking steps, obstacles appear less intimidating, and potential solutions become more apparent, creating a sense of preparedness that fuels decisive action. Start by clearly defining the goal. Visualization is most effective when the end state is precise and specific. Vague or generalized images lack impact because the mind cannot anchor action to an undefined outcome. Whether the goal is completing a project, delivering a presentation, or achieving a personal milestone, the vision must be concrete. Engage all senses in the mental rehearsal. See the environment, hear the sounds, feel the physical sensations, and even notice subtle emotional responses. Multisensory engagement strengthens the neural imprint of the experience, creating a mental simulation that mirrors real-life conditions. Break the process into steps. Success is rarely instantaneous, and visualization should reflect the journey as much as the destination. Mentally rehearse each phase of the endeavor: preparation, execution, handling obstacles, and achieving completion. Emotional engagement is essential for effective visualization. The mind retains and responds to experiences that carry emotional weight. Imagine the pride, satisfaction, and relief associated with completing a goal successfully. Feel the energy that accompanies decisive action and accomplishment. Emotional connection reinforces the mental pattern, making it more likely that the mind will respond positively in reality. By linking desired outcomes to emotional states, visualization strengthens motivation, persistence, and focus, creating a psychological environment conducive to success. Visualization reduces fear of the unknown. Hesitation often arises from uncertainty, from imagining failure or anticipating obstacles without clarity. Mentally rehearsing the steps to success familiarizes the mind with what is to come, reducing anxiety and enhancing readiness. Consistency is critical in visualization practice. Repeated mental rehearsal over days, weeks, and months strengthens the association between thought and action. The mind becomes conditioned to expect progress and to respond with competence. Sporadic or occasional visualization produces little change, but daily practice embeds the mental blueprint deeply, allowing it to influence subconscious expectations, decision-making, and behavior. Gradual reinforcement ensures that when opportunities arise, the mind automatically engages with confidence, guided by the repeated simulations of success. Visualization complements physical preparation. It is not a substitute for effort. Rather, it enhances it by providing a mental rehearsal that primes the brain and body for performance. Athletes, speakers, and performers have long used this technique to improve skill, accuracy, and composure. When paired with actual practice, visualization creates synergy. The mental pattern aligns with physical execution, reinforcing skill acquisition and reducing hesitation. Preparation becomes holistic, combining both cognitive rehearsal and tangible action. Adaptation within visualization is important. Not every scenario unfolds as imagined, and mental flexibility allows the mind to respond effectively to variation. While rehearsing steps, imagine multiple potential outcomes, alternative strategies, and adjustments to unexpected events. This adaptive visualization strengthens problem-solving ability, reduces rigidity, and ensures that confidence is rooted in preparation rather than fantasy. The mind becomes capable of improvising while maintaining focus on the desired outcome, reinforcing resilience and strategic thinking. Belief is reinforced through evidence. Each successful outcome validates the mental rehearsal, creating a feedback loop between visualization and reality. The mind begins to trust its own capacity, recognizing that preparation and execution align effectively. This trust fosters courage, persistence, and initiative, reducing reliance on external validation or fluctuating motivation. Visualization transforms abstract possibility into tangible expectation and readiness. Ultimately, visualizing success before taking steps cultivates alignment between mind, intention, and action. It transforms uncertainty into preparation, fear into strategy, and hesitation into confidence. By repeatedly engaging the imagination, emotionally anchoring outcomes, and integrating rehearsal with deliberate action, the mind is conditioned to perceive capability, anticipate obstacles, and navigate challenges with composure. This practice empowers individuals to act decisively, persist through difficulty, and consistently approach goals with clarity and determination. Visualization is not a passive exercise. It is active training for the mind, sharpening focus, reinforcing strategy, and building resilience. Each imagined scenario strengthens neural patterns, prepares emotional responses, and reinforces confidence in the ability to succeed. When combined with deliberate action, visualization creates a powerful synergy that transforms intention into achievement. The mind begins to expect success, and the body and behavior follow suit. Every step toward visualization is a step toward mastery. By imagining success, rehearsing processes, anticipating challenges, and embedding the practice into daily life, the individual builds a mental framework that supports sustained effort, strategic decision-making, and unwavering belief in capability. Visualization before action ensures that when opportunities arise, hesitation is minimized, confidence is maximized, and progress flows naturally. It transforms uncertainty into clarity, preparation into momentum, and imagination into reality. Fear is an intrinsic part of being human. It signals danger, signals uncertainty, and triggers instinctive caution. Yet while fear can protect, it can also imprison, preventing action, growth, and the pursuit of meaningful goals. The first step in this transformation is acknowledgement. Fear cannot be eliminated by denial or suppression. It thrives in avoidance and unexamined thought. Recognizing fear as a real, valid experience is essential. Identify the source of the fear, uncertainty, potential failure, judgment, or loss, and give it a name. This clarity removes ambiguity, reduces the intensity of emotional reaction, and allows the mind to respond strategically rather than reactively. By observing fear objectively, it loses its automatic control over behavior. Understanding the purpose of fear reframes its presence. Fear is the mind and body signaling that attention is required. It is an internal alert system, highlighting risk and prompting assessment. Recognizing that fear is not inherently negative, but informative, allows the individual to respond with intention. Each instance of fear contains valuable information about priorities, potential pitfalls, and the areas in which courage is needed. Transforming fear into movement begins by perceiving it as a guide rather than a deterrent. Preparation strengthens the ability to act courageously. Fear often arises from perceived unpreparedness. By anticipating challenges, acquiring necessary skills, and envisioning potential scenarios, the mind reduces uncertainty. This preparation does not eliminate fear, but equips the individual with strategies to respond effectively. Knowing that action is supported by competence and foresight transforms anxiety into readiness, enabling the mind to engage challenges proactively rather than being immobilized by perceived risk. Reframing thought patterns is crucial. Fear is frequently magnified by catastrophic thinking or worst-case assumptions. By consciously challenging these thoughts and replacing them with realistic, action-oriented perspectives, the mind reduces the emotional intensity of fear. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" shift to, "What can I do to take a step forward despite uncertainty?" This mental recalibration converts fear into an impetus for problem-solving and action, reinforcing resilience and adaptability. Mindfulness amplifies courageous action by anchoring attention in the present moment. Fear often stems from projecting potential negative outcomes into the future. By focusing on immediate perception, sensory input, and current opportunities, the mind reduces rumination and anticipatory anxiety. Mindful awareness provides a stable platform for deliberate action, ensuring that courage is not abstract but expressed through intentional movement. The body and mind align in the present, allowing fear to guide rather than inhibit behavior. Emotional regulation is central to this process. Fear triggers physical and psychological responses, accelerated heartbeat, tension, heightened alertness that can be overwhelming if unrecognized. Learning to manage these responses through breathing, mental focus, or physiological grounding transforms fear from a disruptive force into energy for action. By channeling the heightened arousal associated with fear into deliberate steps, the mind converts anxiety into momentum, transforming nervous energy into focused courage. Incremental exposure builds mastery over fear. Courage is strengthened by repeated engagement with situations that provoke discomfort. Each encounter provides practical evidence that fear is not a permanent limitation. Start with small challenges and progressively tackle more demanding situations. The cumulative experience reinforces confidence, demonstrating that action is possible even when fear is present. Over time, repeated exposure conditions the mind and body to respond with composure, adaptability, and proactive movement rather than avoidance. Visualization prepares the mind for courageous action. Mentally rehearsing scenarios in which fear is confronted and managed strengthens neural pathways that facilitate effective real-world responses. Imagine engaging with the source of fear successfully, noticing strategies employed, decisions made, and challenges overcome. Repeated visualization primes both cognitive and emotional systems, ensuring that when action is required, the mind responds with preparedness, decisiveness, and composure. Visualization converts potential hesitation into readiness and increases the likelihood of constructive action. Accountability reinforces courage. Sharing intentions with a mentor, peer, or supportive network provides external validation and structure, reducing the tendency to avoid action due to fear. Knowing that commitments are observed or supported by others creates motivation to act despite internal resistance. Accountability transforms fear from a private internal force into a shared challenge, increasing the perceived stakes and encouraging courageous movement. External reinforcement complements internal practice, accelerating the conversion of fear into deliberate action. Purpose anchors courageous behavior. Fear is more easily managed when action is linked to meaningful goals. Understanding the why behind action provides a strong motivational foundation. The clarity of purpose transforms fear from an obstacle into an indicator of where courage is most needed. When goals are compelling and aligned with values, the mind prioritizes action over hesitation, and fear becomes a signal to engage rather than a justification to retreat. Self-compassion preserves momentum during fearful encounters. Courage does not require the absence of error or misjudgment. It requires persistence in the face of uncertainty. Treating oneself with understanding while maintaining commitment to action ensures that setbacks do not halt progress. Compassion maintains psychological resilience, allowing the mind to continue practicing courageous behavior despite discomfort, mistakes, or temporary failures. Each act of courageous movement reinforces the capacity to navigate fear effectively. Reflection consolidates learning from experiences of fear. After acting courageously, evaluate responses, outcomes, and areas for improvement. Recognize the strategies that worked, the moments of hesitation, and the progress achieved. Reflection transforms fear into a teacher, highlighting opportunities for growth and reinforcing the mind's ability to act under pressure. By consistently processing experiences, the mind strengthens the association between fear and productive, empowered action rather than avoidance. Physical conditioning supports the transformation of fear into courage. The mind and body are intertwined, and preparedness at a physiological level enhances psychological resilience. Exercise, controlled breathing, and exposure to manageable stresses improve the ability to remain composed and act decisively. Strengthening physical stamina, balance, and control reinforces the perception of competence, enabling the mind to interpret fear as a signal for strategic engagement rather than a threat. Incremental challenges cultivate an internal framework for courage. By deliberately engaging with progressively demanding tasks, the mind accumulates evidence of capability. Each encounter demonstrates that fear is temporary, manageable, and informative. The accumulation of experiences strengthens self-trust, reinforcing the principle that fear can coexist with action. Courage becomes habitual, a natural response to uncertainty, rather than a rare, extraordinary occurrence. The ultimate effect is transformation. Fear becomes a guidepost, signaling where courage is required, highlighting areas of growth, and motivating deliberate engagement. The mind no longer interprets fear as an endpoint, but as an invitation to act strategically. The body, conditioned through practice, preparation, and repeated exposure, responds with focus, energy, and composure. Over time, the habitual conversion of fear into action reshapes self-perception, fosters resilience, and cultivates a mindset that embraces challenge rather than avoiding it. Daily practice solidifies this transformation. Courage is not a one-time performance, but a cultivated skill. Engage with manageable fears consistently. Reflect on outcomes, refine strategies, and integrate insights into ongoing behavior. Over time, fear loses its paralyzing power, and courageous movement becomes instinctive. The mind recognizes that while fear may always arise, action is always possible, and capability is always present. Through deliberate acknowledgement, preparation, incremental exposure, visualization, and reflection, fear becomes a reliable catalyst rather than a limitation. It signals opportunity, highlights areas for growth, and provides energy that, when channeled, propels action. Courage is cultivated in the intersection of awareness, discipline, and choice. By systematically transforming fear into movement, the individual develops mastery over emotional responses, navigates challenges effectively, and cultivates unwavering confidence in their capacity to act despite uncertainty. Number 8. Train resilience through controlled discomfort. Resilience is not a gift one is born with. It is cultivated through experience, intentional practice, and deliberate exposure to challenges. One of the most effective ways to develop resilience is through controlled discomfort. Life will inevitably present situations that are uncomfortable, demanding, or uncertain. By voluntarily engaging with manageable adversity, the mind and body are trained to tolerate stress, adapt to unpredictability, and recover from difficulty with composure and determination. Controlled discomfort acts as a form of preparation, allowing individuals to strengthen their capacity for endurance and cultivate mental toughness before circumstances force them into extreme situations. The process begins with understanding the difference between reckless exposure and intentional discomfort. Controlled discomfort is not about harm or reckless risk. It is about stepping outside comfort zones in a measured, purposeful manner. It involves activities or practices that stretch capability, provoke adaptation, and challenge existing limitations while maintaining safety and structure. The principle is to gradually increase the level of difficulty so that the mind and body can adapt effectively. By intentionally choosing discomfort, individuals gain mastery over responses to adversity rather than remaining passive in the face of external pressures. Deliberate physical challenges are a foundational component of resilience training. Engaging in strenuous exercise, cold exposure, or endurance activities exposes the body to stress in a controlled environment, prompting adaptation. The body learns to tolerate fatigue, regulate energy, and recover efficiently. These physical experiences create neural and physiological patterns that translate to mental resilience. The sensations of effort, discomfort, and temporary struggle teach persistence, self-control, and confidence in the ability to endure challenges beyond immediate desire for comfort. Mental challenges complement physical training. Controlled cognitive or emotional discomfort, such as tackling difficult tasks, confronting fears, or practicing decision-making under pressure, trains the mind to maintain focus and clarity despite unease. By intentionally engaging with complex problems or emotionally challenging situations, the mind develops patience, strategic thinking, and emotional regulation. Each successful navigation reinforces the understanding that discomfort is temporary, manageable, and an opportunity for growth, rather than a signal of incapacity. Incremental exposure is critical to effectiveness. Resilience is strengthened through progressive adaptation rather than sudden immersion into extreme conditions. Begin with challenges that are slightly outside the comfort zone and gradually escalate intensity or complexity. Each step produces manageable stress and tangible learning, reinforcing confidence in the ability to handle greater demands. This progression ensures that the mind and body are consistently conditioned without overwhelming capacity, creating durable resilience that withstands real-life adversity. Mindset is central to converting discomfort into strength. Reframing challenges as opportunities rather than threats transforms the perception of adversity. Controlled discomfort is not punishment, but training, a method for refining focus, endurance, and adaptability. By interpreting stress as a signal to act, improve, and grow, the mind is oriented toward constructive engagement. This mental framework allows the individual to approach discomfort proactively, responding with intention rather than resistance, and developing confidence in the ability to navigate uncertainty. Reflection enhances the resilience-building process. After experiencing controlled discomfort, pause to evaluate response, identify lessons learned, and recognize areas for improvement. Reflection consolidates learning, reinforces adaptive strategies, and creates awareness of progress. By analyzing both successes and struggles, the mind internalizes the connection between effort, discomfort, and growth, transforming transient challenges into lasting strength. Each reflection reinforces self-trust, illustrating that temporary difficulty does not diminish capability. Voluntary exposure to discomfort also improves tolerance for uncertainty. Life is unpredictable, and resilience is closely tied to the capacity to navigate ambiguity without panic or avoidance. Engaging with controlled stresses teaches the mind to remain calm and decisive when conditions are unclear. This practice cultivates flexibility, enhances problem-solving skills, and reduces the psychological impact of surprise or change. The mind learns that discomfort is not a permanent state, but a temporary environment in which action remains possible and effective. Accountability strengthens adaptation. Engaging in controlled discomfort with measurable goals, progress tracking, or support systems reinforces commitment and learning. When discomfort is voluntary but guided by structure or oversight, individuals are more likely to persist through temporary resistance and complete tasks. Accountability ensures that resilience is not theoretical but evidenced through action, reinforcing the mind's confidence in its ability to endure and adapt under pressure. Controlled discomfort also cultivates patience. Growth through adversity is rarely instantaneous, and the ability to tolerate delayed results is essential to resilience. By engaging with challenges that require sustained effort, focus, and repetition, the mind learns to endure temporary frustration without surrender. Patience developed in this context translates to real-life scenarios, enabling persistence when immediate outcomes are unavailable or uncertain. Resilience is strengthened by the repeated practice of persistence in the presence of discomfort. Emotional regulation is sharpened through intentional exposure. Discomfort often triggers anxiety, irritation, or self-doubt. By facing these responses deliberately, individuals develop strategies to maintain composure, focus, and constructive action. Techniques such as controlled breathing, mindfulness, or cognitive reframing allow emotional arousal to be channeled into productive behavior. Each successful management of internal discomfort reinforces confidence in coping ability and strengthens the psychological foundation necessary for resilience in more intense circumstances. Consistency in practice embeds resilience as a trait rather than a temporary state. Daily or frequent engagement with manageable discomfort conditions the mind and body to respond automatically with endurance, focus, and problem-solving. Sporadic exposure is less effective because adaptation requires repeated reinforcement. By embedding discomfort into routine practice through physical, cognitive, or emotional challenges, resilience becomes habitual and the individual approaches future challenges with expectation and preparedness rather than fear. Visualization complements exposure by mentally rehearsing engagement with discomfort. Imagining the sensations, challenges, and responses associated with difficult tasks prepares the mind for real-world execution. Visualization strengthens neural pathways, enhances decision-making, and reduces surprise or hesitation. By repeatedly rehearsing the encounter with adversity, the mind anticipates challenges, recognizes coping strategies, and approaches action with calm confidence. Mental preparation amplifies the benefits of physical or emotional practice, creating alignment between thought and behavior. Purpose enhances endurance through controlled discomfort. Discomfort is more tolerable when linked to meaningful objectives or larger goals. Understanding why a challenging activity matters motivates persistence and reframes struggle as investment rather than suffering. Purpose strengthens focus, directs energy, and aligns effort with long-term growth. By connecting temporary discomfort to desired outcomes, the mind perceives challenges as necessary, productive experiences, further solidifying resilience. Support systems reinforce adaptation. Observing or learning from others who have navigated discomfort successfully provides practical insight and models strategies for endurance. Mentorship or peer engagement reduces perceived risk, reinforces confidence, and accelerates learning. Controlled discomfort becomes a shared, structured practice rather than an isolated struggle, increasing both psychological support and accountability. Resilience cultivated through controlled discomfort extends into daily life. Individuals who practice voluntary challenges approach unforeseen adversity with composure, creativity, and determination. Stressful events become opportunities to apply learned strategies, problem-solve effectively, and maintain focus under pressure. The mind interprets challenge as familiar territory, reducing fear, hesitation, and emotional overwhelm. Strengthened through practice, resilience becomes an internal resource, a reliable foundation for sustained action and personal growth. Over time, consistent engagement with controlled discomfort transforms perception. Challenges no longer appear as threats, but as necessary stimuli for development. Mental and emotional endurance grow, confidence in personal capability deepens, and the ability to recover from setbacks strengthens. Life's unpredictability becomes navigable rather than paralyzing, as repeated experience has demonstrated the capacity to act decisively, adapt efficiently, and endure without surrender. The ultimate effect of training resilience through controlled discomfort is empowerment. The mind and body learn to tolerate stress, manage emotion, and persist under pressure. Each voluntary experience provides evidence that adversity is not insurmountable and that growth occurs through engagement rather than avoidance. Individuals internalize the understanding that discomfort is temporary, effort produces capability, and challenges are opportunities for expansion rather than limitation. Every deliberate act of controlled discomfort reinforces strength, endurance, and adaptability. By facing manageable stress, analyzing responses, reflecting on outcomes, and progressively increasing challenge, resilience becomes embedded as a trait rather than a reaction. Life's inevitable hardships are met with preparedness and confidence, ensuring that the individual not only survives difficulty but thrives within it. Through consistent intentional exposure to controlled discomfort, resilience is cultivated as a durable, self-sustaining quality, empowering achievement, growth, and mastery over personal limitations. Number 9. Replace excuses with intentional habits. Excuses are the invisible barriers that silently shape a life of stagnation, limiting potential and undermining growth. They disguise avoidance as reason, inertia as necessity, and fear as logic. Every time an excuse is offered, energy that could be invested in action is diverted into rationalization. The mind becomes conditioned to justify inaction, reinforcing habits that ensure comfort over progress. Replacing excuses with intentional habits is the conscious act of reclaiming agency, converting energy from avoidance into deliberate action, and embedding self-discipline into daily life. Habits are the architecture of accomplishment, and by designing them with purpose, the cycle of excuses is dismantled, replaced with consistent, measurable effort. The first step is awareness. Excuses are often habitual, automatic, and subtle. Recognizing them requires honest reflection and attention to patterns of thought. Monitor daily decisions, noting when reasons for not acting arise. Identify the recurring themes: lack of time, fear of failure, perceived difficulty, or external blame. Awareness transforms vague dissatisfaction into actionable insight. By pinpointing exactly where excuses are operating, it becomes possible to replace avoidance with intention rather than simply suppressing guilt or frustration. Intentional habits require clarity of purpose. Every habit should be tied to a specific goal, value, or outcome. When actions are meaningful, the mind naturally prioritizes execution over justification. Define concrete behaviors that align with objectives. Small, consistent actions are more powerful than sporadic bursts of effort. Each habit should have a clear trigger and a defined outcome, creating a reliable structure that guides behavior. Over time, these intentional habits accumulate, replacing the mental pattern of excuse-making with patterns of consistency, achievement, and self-trust. Environment shapes behavior. Excuses are often fueled by surroundings that encourage distraction, procrastination, or avoidance. To replace excuses, restructure the environment to facilitate action. Remove barriers, create reminders, and design spaces that support productive habits. The fewer obstacles and temptations present, the easier it becomes to act consistently. By engineering surroundings intentionally, the mind is less likely to default to excuses and more likely to engage in habitual, goal-directed behavior. Start small to ensure sustainability. Radical transformation often falters because initial goals are unrealistic or overwhelming. Begin with manageable actions that require minimal friction but reinforce intentionality. Small wins accumulate, strengthening confidence, motivation, and evidence that deliberate effort produces results. Each completed habit, no matter how minor, proves that excuses can be overcome and that control over behavior is attainable. Momentum builds gradually, turning discipline into a natural part of daily life rather than a forced imposition. Consistency is the cornerstone of replacing excuses with habits. Repetition embeds behavior into subconscious patterns, reducing the need for conscious effort. Excuses often thrive when action requires ongoing mental struggle. Habits, once established, bypass deliberation and operate automatically. By committing to consistent routines, the mind becomes conditioned to act, and excuses lose their foothold. Daily repetition reinforces the identity of a person who takes responsibility, makes deliberate choices, and prioritizes progress over avoidance. Accountability accelerates transformation. Sharing goals and intended habits with mentors, peers, or supportive networks reinforces commitment. Knowing that actions are observed or expected increases motivation to follow through. Accountability prevents the mind from rationalizing inaction and strengthens the feedback loop between intention and execution. When paired with intentional habit formation, accountability ensures that excuses are less persuasive and that consistent effort is reinforced by both internal discipline and external expectation. Mindset is critical in this process. Excuses often arise from fixed thinking, fear of imperfection, or a desire to avoid temporary discomfort. By cultivating a mindset that values growth, resilience, and responsibility, the individual reframes obstacles as challenges to navigate rather than reasons to delay action. Adopting an outcome-oriented perspective encourages the replacement of justification with execution, ensuring that effort is directed towards solutions rather than avoidance. Prioritization enhances the effectiveness of habits. Not every task or desire holds equal value. Intentional habits are most impactful when aligned with core goals and values. By identifying high-priority actions and committing to them through structured routines, the mind is less susceptible to diversion by trivial excuses. Each habit becomes a strategic tool designed to maximize progress while minimizing wasted energy on rationalizations or distractions. Reflection and review. Solidify habit formation. Periodically evaluating which behaviors are producing results, which are inconsistent, and where excuses re-emerge creates opportunities for adjustment and reinforcement. Reflection prevents habits from stagnating and ensures that they remain intentional, purposeful, and aligned with evolving goals. By analyzing outcomes, the mind strengthens the connection between action and impact, reinforcing the pattern of accountability and reducing the tendency to revert to excuses. Discomfort is inevitable in habit formation, and intentional habits often require confronting resistance. Excuses frequently arise as mental signals to avoid challenge, discomfort, or uncertainty. By framing these sensations as indicators that action is necessary rather than reasons to retreat, the mind learns to tolerate unease and prioritize execution. The process of acting despite discomfort strengthens self-discipline, increases confidence, and reduces the influence of avoidance-driven thinking over time. Tracking progress reinforces habit integration. Recording accomplishments, milestones, and adherence to routines provides tangible evidence of effort and capability. Excuses lose power when confronted with measurable results, and momentum is sustained through visible reinforcement. Tracking enables continuous adjustment, highlighting areas that require reinforcement while celebrating consistent execution. The mind associates effort with reward, strengthening commitment to intentional behavior. Habit stacking amplifies efficiency. Linking new intentional habits to existing routines creates structure and reduces reliance on motivation. By connecting behaviors, the mind is cued automatically, and excuses are less likely to arise due to friction or forgetfulness. Habit stacking ensures that action flows naturally within daily life, embedding responsibility and deliberate effort into a seamless sequence of productive behaviors. Visualization supports the replacement of excuses by mentally rehearsing responses to challenging situations. Imagine encountering obstacles, feeling the impulse to rationalize, and deliberately choosing to act regardless. Repeated mental rehearsal conditions the mind to respond with habitual execution rather than avoidance. Visualization strengthens the association between effort, capability, and reward, creating a cognitive framework that favors action over justification. Self-compassion enhances sustainability. Intentional habits are not about perfection. Lapses are inevitable. Rather than using mistakes as fuel for self-criticism, treat them as data points and opportunities to reinforce commitment. Compassion allows persistence, reduces discouragement, and prevents the mind from slipping back into patterns of excuse-making. The balance between accountability and understanding fosters durable habits and reinforces the identity of a person who acts deliberately, learns from experience, and consistently prioritizes progress. Integration of habits into multiple domains strengthens overall efficacy. Physical routines, mental exercises, and organizational practices all contribute to a mindset in which excuses are systematically replaced by deliberate action. Each domain reinforces the others, creating a cohesive system of behavior that reduces vulnerability to rationalizations. Intentional habits permeate daily life, forming a foundation of consistency, self-reliance, and proactive engagement. Over time, the accumulation of intentional habits transforms identity. The person who consistently acts deliberately, prioritizes progress, and maintains structured routines internalizes a self-concept of capability, responsibility, and reliability. Excuses become increasingly incongruent with this identity, losing credibility and influence. The mind no longer perceives avoidance as natural, but recognizes deliberate action as the default response. Behavior, perception, and self-trust are aligned, producing sustainable achievement and confidence. The ultimate effect of replacing excuses with intentional habits is freedom. Freedom from mental barriers, procrastination, and self-imposed limitation. Energy is redirected from rationalization into meaningful action, and progress becomes measurable and inevitable. Life becomes structured around capability, discipline, and intentionality rather than uncertainty, avoidance, and regret. The mind, trained through repeated, purposeful practice, defaults to action over justification, creating a foundation for consistent growth, resilience, and accomplishment. Every day presents an opportunity to reinforce this transformation by monitoring thoughts, committing to intentional behavior, reflecting on outcomes, and adjusting routines. Excuses are systematically replaced with habits that embody purpose, consistency, and effectiveness. Each deliberate choice strengthens the mind's capacity for accountability, focus, and self-discipline, ensuring that the individual is equipped to pursue meaningful goals with clarity, persistence, and confidence. Through awareness, clarity, structure, incremental challenge, accountability, and reflection, excuses lose power and intentional habits become the default mode of operation. The mind learns to act despite hesitation, to prioritize purpose over comfort, and to consistently transform effort into achievement. By systematically replacing rationalization with deliberate practice, the individual cultivates a life defined by progress, capability, and self-mastery. Number 10. Trust your potential over obstacles. Potential is a force that exists quietly within every individual, waiting for recognition, cultivation, and action. It is not a guarantee of success, but it is the raw material from which achievement is built. Obstacles, whether external challenges, internal doubts, or unforeseen circumstances, are inevitable in life. They test resolve, divert attention, and often threaten to overshadow aspiration. Trusting potential over obstacles is the conscious choice to prioritize belief in one's ability above fear, resistance, and limitation. It is the act of seeing possibility where others see impossibility, of moving forward with conviction despite uncertainty, and of transforming latent capacity into tangible results. The foundation of trusting potential begins with awareness. Understanding personal strengths, past accomplishments, and capacities for learning provides evidence that capability exists, independent of circumstance. Potential is reinforced by reflection on prior challenges that have been overcome, skills that have been mastered, and knowledge that has been accumulated. Recognizing that one has repeatedly navigated difficulty builds confidence that future obstacles are similarly surmountable. Awareness of potential anchors action in self-belief rather than reaction to circumstance. Perception shapes the relationship between obstacles and potential. Many individuals perceive barriers as fixed limitations, magnifying fear and hesitation. Reframing obstacles as temporary solvable challenges shifts focus from restriction to strategy. This perspective allows the mind to prioritize creative solutions and resourcefulness rather than surrender. Obstacles become signals to test skill, strengthen determination, and apply knowledge, rather than reasons for retreat. The mind begins to associate challenges with growth, rather than failure. Action is the vehicle through which potential is realized. Trusting potential requires translating belief into deliberate effort, even when progress is incremental or uncertain. Movement in the direction of goals, regardless of difficulty, reinforces the understanding that capability exists in practice, not merely in thought. Each step forward, however small, produces evidence that obstacles are surmountable and that potential is active. Action solidifies belief, creating a self-reinforcing cycle in which effort, experience, and confidence amplify one another. Preparation strengthens the capacity to trust potential. Knowledge, skill development, and strategic planning reduce uncertainty, clarify pathways, and provide tangible means to navigate obstacles. When effort is aligned with preparation, the mind perceives challenges as manageable tests rather than insurmountable barriers. Preparation is not a guarantee of ease, but a reinforcement of the principle that potential is actionable and that obstacles are temporary conditions that can be navigated. Visualization enhances trust in potential. Mentally rehearsing successful engagement with obstacles primes the mind to anticipate challenges with composure and strategy. Imagine encountering difficulty and responding effectively, navigating setbacks with skill, and achieving desired outcomes. Repeated mental rehearsal strengthens neural patterns, reinforces confidence, and reduces hesitation. The mind becomes accustomed to the expectation of success, allowing action to occur with decisiveness and clarity despite external difficulties. Resilience is a natural companion to potential. Obstacles often evoke frustration, fear, or doubt, but resilience allows these emotions to be experienced without capitulation. Trusting potential over obstacles requires cultivating the ability to recover from setbacks, maintain focus, and persist. Each challenge navigated reinforces the mind's capacity to act under pressure and confirms that potential is reliable, adaptable, and sufficient to overcome difficulty. Resilience transforms obstacles from threats into opportunities to demonstrate and strengthen capability. Incremental progress reinforces confidence in potential. Large goals or significant barriers can feel overwhelming, leading to paralysis or doubt. Breaking challenges into manageable steps allows the mind to engage consistently, producing repeated evidence of competence. Each small victory validates the belief in potential, creating momentum that makes future obstacles less intimidating. Progress becomes tangible, reinforcing the principle that consistent effort leverages latent capability into realized results. Mindset plays a pivotal role. Trusting potential requires cultivating optimism, rooted in realism, determination grounded in strategy, and confidence derived from evidence rather than assumption. A mindset focused on growth, adaptability, and solution-oriented thinking ensures that obstacles are met with constructive action rather than avoidance. By viewing difficulty as a natural part of development, the mind prioritizes effort and learning over fear or hesitation. Self-compassion supports trust in potential by allowing the individual to maintain belief in capability despite temporary setbacks or mistakes. Obstacles will occasionally impede progress, but a balanced response, acknowledging difficulty without internalizing failure, ensures persistence. Compassion preserves motivation, reduces discouragement, and fosters sustained engagement with goals, reinforcing the understanding that potential remains intact even when progress is imperfect. Support and mentorship accelerate the realization of potential. Observing and learning from others who have navigated similar obstacles provides insight, encouragement, and practical strategies. Guidance from experienced individuals reinforces confidence, demonstrates that challenges are surmountable, and validates the principle that potential can prevail over difficulty. Collective wisdom amplifies individual capability and fosters trust in the capacity to achieve, despite adversity. Adaptability strengthens the interplay between potential and obstacles. Challenges often deviate from expectations, requiring flexibility in strategy and mindset. Trusting potential involves recognizing that the ability to adjust, learn and respond creatively is itself a reflection of latent capability. Each adaptive response demonstrates that potential is not static, but dynamic, capable of overcoming shifting circumstances and unanticipated difficulty. Discipline ensures that potential is consistently leveraged. Intentional effort, regular practice and habitual engagement with meaningful action reinforce the connection between belief and accomplishment. Obstacles are met with methodical, deliberate strategies rather than impulsive or inconsistent effort. Discipline transforms abstract potential into measurable outcomes, ensuring that belief is reinforced through action and that obstacles are addressed systematically. Reflection consolidates learning from encounters with obstacles. Analyzing what strategies worked, which responses were effective, and where improvement is needed, strengthens the mind's understanding of capability. Reflection turns experience into knowledge, reinforcing the confidence that potential is sufficient to navigate future challenges. By integrating insights into ongoing practice, obstacles become opportunities to refine skill, enhance judgment, and extend competence. Patience sustains trust in potential over long-term challenges. Significant obstacles rarely resolve instantly, and immediate results may be limited. Maintaining belief in capability while persisting over time reinforces confidence and strengthens resilience. Patience allows effort to accumulate, demonstrating that consistent application of potential produces meaningful outcomes, even when progress appears slow or incremental. Integration of vision and action ensures that potential is continually expressed. Goals, strategies, habits, and values align to create a framework in which obstacles are encountered as part of a coherent path toward achievement. Trust in potential is maintained because action is purposeful, structured, and guided by long-term objectives. The mind perceives capability as active, observable, and reliable, reducing susceptibility to doubt. Courage complements trust in potential. Obstacles often provoke hesitation, uncertainty, or fear, and courage is the mechanism that bridges belief and action. By acting decisively despite risk or discomfort, the mind reinforces the principle that potential is sufficient and that challenges are not permanent limitations. Courage transforms abstract capacity into tangible performance, confirming that belief in capability aligns with reality. Ultimately, trusting potential over obstacles is a practice of alignment of belief, action, preparation, and reflection. It is the conscious choice to prioritize capability over fear, strategy over hesitation, and persistence over avoidance. Potential is realized not as a theoretical concept, but as a lived, practiced, and observable capacity that consistently navigates difficulty, converts challenges into learning, and produces measurable progress. Each encounter with an obstacle becomes evidence that potential is sufficient, reliable, and enduring. Through awareness, preparation, visualization, incremental progress, resilience, reflection, and deliberate action, the mind internalizes the principle that obstacles are temporary and surmountable, while potential is enduring and expandable. This practice transforms uncertainty into opportunity, fear into strategy, and difficulty into a proving ground for capability. Trusting potential over obstacles fosters confidence, persistence, and mastery, ensuring that every challenge encountered becomes an occasion to demonstrate the power, skill, and adaptability inherent within. Every day offers a chance to reaffirm this trust. By consciously choosing action over hesitation, reflection over doubt, and growth over avoidance, the mind and body reinforce the understanding that obstacles cannot limit a determined, capable individual. Potential becomes active. Obstacles become navigable, and progress becomes inevitable. Trusting in latent capability ensures that achievement is not dictated by circumstance, but by the conscious application of skill, courage, and deliberate effort.